Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your award-winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we are back, unfortunately for our sins, to see Spurs, reviewing Spurs' defeat to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park in the Premier League. Look, for those that were on the show midweek, there obviously were some jokes and conspiracies about the fact we were seeing pictures floating around of Dr. Tottenham, Doc doing a white outfit with a Spurs logo on him. And they soon really came home to roost ever so quickly. I'm joined on this show by our instructor, conductor, the runner. Lee McQueen is back with us, as is Richard Cracknell, fresh from Selhurst Park. The poor man's had to go and watch it. Now he's having to relive it, and he'll go to bed probably seeing it again. We're so sorry, Cracks. And also back on the show, the wonderful Patrick Tyrant makes up the A-team here on Last Word on Spurs. As always, guys, thank you so much for all your incredible support for the show. I will just say at the very, very top of this one that we had over, I believe, 50 to 60 listener statements, questions throughout. We'll try and bring those in as we do go during the show. I hope you appreciate. Look, we'd love to read every single one of those views, but I'm sure you understand we wouldn't probably finish the show and it would be another 4.5 hours. We don't want to kill you off completely. So, look, thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to open, if we can, to discuss that really hard defeat to Palace, and against the Palace side, as we know, went into the game winless in the Premier League, searching for their first win. It comes against Tottenham Hotspur and Ange Postecoglou's side. Maka, I'm going to open up with you. Lovely to have you back on, mate. I know it's been a while. Sorry, it's in these circumstances. Spurs suffering their fourth defeat in 9 Premier League games this season. We were passive, we were sloppy, we were outfought, out-battled during that defeat to Palace. I'm already second best women without the ball, so losing possession, and seemingly it felt Maka at times unprepared for the intensity of Palace's press and work rate. Again, I'll make that point. Palace had 0 wins going into the game. It just felt, Maka, we could have played that game for near on 180, 240 minutes. We weren't going to find a way through. And many will have their view on the fact of Ange making that triple change where he brought on, obviously, Timo Werner, Richarlison off the bench, and he took off at the time Maddison and Kulusevski, which many may feel was a completely wrong decision. We seem to lose all our quality, and it was a wasted opportunity to capitalise on the likes of Villa, Brighton and Newcastle, all dropping points over the course of the weekend. Maka, how do you try and pick apart what we saw earlier at Selhurst Park? I'd love to be back on, mate.
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, obviously, good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everybody, to Patrick, to Crackers, of course, just been at the game, to obviously your good self, Rick, all the viewers and listeners. Look, it's a tough one, isn't it? There's no dressing this one up. I mean, it was an abysmal performance, I think, from top to bottom, from Ange, from all the players. I mean, it just sums up everything. You know, he didn't do enough. The players didn't do enough. If you're doing player ratings, you're looking at what? 3s and 4s. Maybe Vicario gets a 6 or 7 because of the saves he made, but not certainly from his footwork. So there was everybody. There was no energy today. They couldn't handle the battles. They couldn't handle the duels. There's individual duels, individual battles around the pitch. There was just no cohesion whatsoever. And look, you've got to say fair play to Crystal Palace because that they didn't enable Spurs to just come and do a Spurs thing. We had no spell in the game whatsoever that I remember. I've got to be honest with you, at some points I was starting to go and peel the potatoes for my roast dinner at some point. Do you know what I mean? So I was just thinking, what's the point in watching this? But there was no point in the game that I can remember that we had a consistent spell of wave after wave of pressure. We're thinking, here we go, what's going to happen here? And like you said, we could have probably played two games and still not have scored in that manner today. And it's what's concerning about that is not Ange out and all that. I'm totally Ange in, and I love what we're doing, and I think the project's going to work, and we need some patience. And I get that's hard when I say the word patience, but we are where we are. Project, I know you all hate it, team, but it's where we are, right? But I think what's really concerning for me is the this consistently happens with Tottenham. They try and pick the bones out. Every defeat, we can't keep going back to Ange out, or we can't keep going back to Levy out. Or we are where we are, right? Levy ain't going out next week before the next game, and nor is Ange. Well, Ange might actually if Levy don't bottle it. So I think at the end of the day, we've got to try and analyse and pick the bones out of why we played like that today. Like, why was it? Was it a hangover after the Europa? And then I'm thinking, well, it can't be, team, because we were at home. Most of the players that played not all, but most of the players that played on Thursday night didn't play today. And, so there's some freshness there. So it can't really be that. Palace have got a shocking record. We only had to score. In my opinion, today, we only had to score. And if we'd have scored first, I think we go and roll them over. That's the difference. So goals change games. And I was still convinced that even at 1-0, I still felt if we could get a goal, which didn't look likely at all, and I totally agree with you, but I just felt if we could get a goal, we might go and get another one and go and win the game, because their confidence, you know what football's like, team, everybody, it flips and starts and goals change games, but there was no energy. We couldn't win our battles. We've only had 3 shots on target the whole game. It wasn't a Spurs under Ange type performance from an attacking perspective, but it was definitely a Spurs under Ange performance from a defensive point of view. And I think that's probably the best way I can sum it up. It probably wasn't. I think that's the worst we've played in this season. I think that's what I would say across the 97 minutes. I think we had a terrible 20 minutes against Brighton, obviously. And then, this is a Coventry level performance. And I think it was as bad, if not worse. Definitely the worst we've played in the Premier League this year. And that's a concern, Rick.
Yeah, it's a concern. It is. Crackers, loves to be back on, mate. Like I say, the poor man's been at the ground, now coming back to do this. He will be all tottened out by this. And I had to remind Cracks, he's got the Carabao Cup game against Man City. Then he's got Villa at home. What a week. What a week. Mate, firstly, love to be back on the show. Look, we've got to be honest about it. Credit to Palace, who pressed Ange Postecoglou Spurs at such times ferociously, intelligently, and they really cut off a lot of the supply lines to our forward line, which, to be fair, was ominous on the day. They really disrupted our rhythm. And just to put it in perspective, that's only the second time Palace have defeated Spurs in the last 19 games in all competitions. The only other manager to lose to the Eagles in that run was none other than Nuno Espirito Santo. And I think, look, Cracks, there's more to this, it feels, than just tactics. When players play as bad as that, as Lee mentions there, it's not been the first time. We saw the Brighton away second half performance, which again wasn't good enough. It just feels that something was not right in the preparation, the intensity of play, or the training. Only one shot, Cracks, after the 55th minute against a winless side. You can't help but wonder, Cracks, again, that we decided, did they turn up with an arrogance that we're expecting to win? And I got to go back to Lee, what says there. Lee was right. I think this was a Coventry level performance. And, Paul O'Keefe said it so well on X earlier in the day that when we lose, God, we probably stink and reek the place out, Cracks. Your view on the game, and also tell us the view on the Spurs fans. You was in the away end, so thoughts on the game overall for you, Cracks?
Well, Lee said not an Ange performance, and I get what he means when he says that. But in some respects, it's absolutely an Ange performance when he comes up against a team that doesn't allow Ange and his players, moulded in his image, to play the way that they want. So, we've literally turned up there today, and we must have known that this was coming. See, Spurs, when they're at home, and it's like going into a champagne bar, isn't it? And they get their nice bottle of champagne on ice, couple of flute glasses, little table in the corner. And today, like we knew that we're going to some old rough, like council estate pub with a flat roof, and we just can't like go and be drinking pints of lager out of a couple of chipped glasses, can we? We just can't do that. So you have to find some level of performance that meets fire with fire, and find solutions to it. And we just couldn't. They disrupted us. They disrupted the way that we wanted to play, and we just never found a solution to change it up either. That's what was worrying. I think it was from the dugout to 1 to 11, probably with the exception of Vicario. It was just awful. It stunk today, absolutely stunk. And I don't know, Rick. We just done what we done. We made a couple of changes, went 2 up top, still tried to play the same types of patterns of football, and just couldn't. But then 1 or 2 times we throw a ball a little bit longer, a little bit over the top, you know, a little bit of a Hail Mary's got in, off of Dom, out wide to Pedro Porro. And you just felt that we was catching them and stretching them a little bit by doing that. They coped with it, but we was actually getting a little bit more joy of doing that. I thought there was maybe a chance that we could scratch something out of the game by doing that, but we just didn't. I don't understand why, like, the man in the dugout and others are not saying to themselves, right, okay, look, you know, our normal styles and patterns of play are just not returning any results here today, because they're digging in, they're well organised, they're stalling for time, doing everything that they quite rightly should do. Just for 10, 15 minutes, why don't we just try and go a little bit more agricultural? Just go a little bit more route one, throw some balls over the top, see where it gets us, see if we can get some results, because, you know, it's that thing of madness, isn't it? Just doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. It just wasn't coming. And I don't know, Rick, you look at last week against West Ham and you get, you know, a really quite decent performance, and then you get this today. And I think the words from the man himself, Ange, who said, "It's who we are, mate," I think he might be right. I think this is who we are, and I think this is what we are going to get. We're just going to get feast and famine, Baywatch and Crime Watch, and I just honestly think that's what we're going to get. It's just going to be almost a purgatory of up and down and up and down, and a win one week and a fair performance, and then stinkers like that the week after. I'm really struggling at the moment to see the incremental progression with Spurs under Ange. I'm just not seeing that week on week, game on game, little things beginning to develop. You know, like Villa have seen with Emery, with Unai Emery. You've seen that progression. You've just seen something beginning to grow, the belief, the cultures and everything. Just not seeing it. Just not seeing it at the moment. But look, the away today, the away fans, absolutely brilliant. When we got in there, like singing, getting behind the team, then we shoot ourselves in the foot, which I'm sure we'll come on to. And that was it. You know, it just killed us for the atmosphere. It lifted them. And then from there, team gave us nothing to cling on to and get behind. And, you know, the more it went, the more frustrated people got, on quite rightly. It was just poxy today. Absolutely poxy. Nobody's come out of that with any credit whatsoever, Rick.
Yeah, it is really difficult. I mean, look, the thing is, I did say to myself, I can't lose my shit until after the Carabao Cup tie against Man City on Wednesday, which is probably why you're thinking, why am I not going absolutely crazy right now? But look, give me till Wednesday, and I'm sure they'll give me ammo in store. But look, you guys know how much that game means to me in terms of Wednesday. Look, they're all big games, don't get me wrong, but obviously some fans have more an affiliation towards the Cups than they do the Premier League. And look, we're all different in the ways we see opinions and thoughts on the game. And that's what makes this podcast so beautiful, that we've all got different views and opinions about where we are in the project. Patty, I'll bring you in, mate. Love to be back on. I feel like, Patty, you're drawing a lot of the short straws at the moment, mate. I can promise you it's not deliberate in terms of the scheduling on this show. But look, let's be honest about it. We'll be real, and as we always are on this show, Spurs produced their worst display of the season in the Premier League against their Eberechi-inspired Palace side. And it's no typical that Eberechi really for Palace has been anomalous so far this season. And to be fair, there'll be fans saying, well, that's why you maybe should have spent the money on bringing him in. But we know football doesn't always work like that. But at the same time, it does mean for Tottenham, they are still on their worst start to a Premier League season. When you go back a number of, 5-10 years, which is a big concern. And Crackers makes that point there, Patty, that he's really struggling to see the incremental progression week upon week. I think what we have said on this show is that we have seen an element of better results and better performances over the course of this season when you compare it to the respective fixtures of last season. Where are you, Pat, on this? Because I know, again, you've been very passionate on this show about giving the manager adequate time to see a plan. And contrary to what many people think, I think you've said it on the show numerous times, Ange wasn't your guy, but you made it very clear on the show that as he's a manager of the football club, you're going to get behind him and give him every opportunity to succeed. Where are you feeling, Pat, at the moment in regards to your support of Ange and the general overall performance against Palace at Selhurst Park?
You know, yeah, first of all, I just want to shout everyone out. It feels like I haven't been on there in ages. It's only been like a week and a half, but it just ages.
That's why you're looking, that's why you're looking so bloody well.
I know, that's it. A week and a half of not doing this, and I feel better. I feel younger, more radiant, more youthful. And then obviously I jump on here, we lose a game, and it's just like that. So,
age 10 years.
It's crazy. Last week we were scintillating and amazing, and this week
Pat,
we're absolutely woeful.
Just quickly, look, last week I had jet black hair. Look. Jet black hair last week.
We'll be a walking skeleton. We'll be a walking skeleton by the time we get to a bloody final. Go on, Patty, please.
Mental.
Take it away.
Last week he was Mikey Moore. Now he looks like that. It's just crazy, isn't it? It's crazy what this team can do to you. Honestly, like, you know what? My thoughts change with Ange all the time. I really want him to succeed. The thing is, I don't want us to hire and fire. I don't want us to be in this crazy cycle of hiring and firing managers. It doesn't work. But at the same time, I'd be lying if I sat here and said I'm 100% convinced by Ange. I'm not. Sometimes, like, when you look at the game against West Ham, we're amazing. We look brilliant. Everything clicks. The thing for me with Tottenham, this Tottenham team, is that we can't just win a game ugly or just see a game out. It's either we're like scintillating, fantastic, and Barcelona in their prime, or we're just absolutely crap like today. There's like no middle ground. Or we'd be amazing, but we can't see a game out. Or we'd just be good for 45 minutes against Brighton and then absolutely, you know, the bed and be crap for the next 45. We're just not a consistent team. And that's the worry. Like, we're in our second season. A lot of Ange's players, the team's meant to be molded in his image. And I don't know. I don't know if I don't want to go too crazy because it is going to be a season of ups and downs, but Crystal Palace away from home, a team that hasn't won all season, a team that was really, like, they were on the ropes. They were devout of confidence. They're essentially, Timo Werner FC in terms of, if you look at how they were playing, how they came into the game, they were like Timo, just shot of confidence, shot of belief, questioning their own ability. If we score a goal, or even if we scored with 10, 20 minutes left and put it on them, I think they would have crumbled. But we just didn't look like scoring. I mean, credit to them. They did everything they're meant to do. I think like what Crackers and Lee said, they were resolute, solid defensively, wasted time, just did all the little niggly things that, you'd expect them to do, scored a goal. You wouldn't say they defended fantastically. You wouldn't say they camped and sat, did a low blocker. So they actually played their football. They pressed us aggressively as well. We just didn't look comfortable on the ball today. Vicario looked shaky on the ball. I thought he had a really good game. I thought, just like Crackers and Lee said, the only guy that can really hold his hands up and come out of that with any sort of credibility. Because if it wasn't for Vicario, we'd probably lose that 3 or 4-0, and rightfully so. He made some really good saves. There was one where he was going one way, left his leg out, and he saved the ball. That was a fantastic save. And then also Wharton hit a really good shot that was curling into the top bins, saved that as well. Like, he came out of that game from a goalkeeping standpoint in terms of making saves. He came out looking good. Still question marks in terms of playing out, and sometimes he overforces the playing out from the back. I think sometimes he just needs to actually just boot the ball and clear his lines. We're overforcing it, making silly mistakes, and then looking jittery, and it just gives them the confidence to push us back and keep pressing. But then also from a just an attacking and offensive standpoint, we really didn't create anything today. I didn't really see much going on. Richarlison had a half shot, half chance. Maddison had a shot in the first half where the keeper made a save. Other than that, I don't really recall us doing anything of note. And
we had a post, didn't we? Johnson
hit the post. But other than that, Lee, like you said, we could have watched that for another 20, 30, 40 minutes. Never really looked like getting back into
20, 30, 40 years, Pat. We were watching that when I'm retired, mate. Do you know what I mean? 30 odd years. We'll be like,
it's crazy, man. Honestly, when he called, when the referee called 7 minutes worth of extra time, injury time, that's when you really expect the players to have that extra oomph, that extra 5%, 10%, at least try and get something out of the game. If you're not going to win it, don't lose it. But we just didn't look like actually doing anything. And yeah, I don't know. And Ange, I mean, I haven't watched the pre-match presser. I'm sure he's going to say the same stuff he always says. I just don't know what's going on. Like, I don't really know what Ange is doing with this team right now. It's all well and good being an attacking juggernaut when we play well, but defensively we're still quite shaky. And football goes both ways. You have to be able to defend and attack. Defensively, we're still quite lackluster. Considering the players that we've got, they all look quality players. They all are quality players. Still can't keep a clean sheet to save our lives. But at least if you're not going to keep a clean sheet, score a couple of goals. We couldn't do that today. And then obviously we fall short. So where am I with Ange? I don't want to see him sacked. I really don't. There's no point right now, especially when you look at the managerial candidates out there. I don't really see anyone that could come in and make a difference. But I need to see better from him. I'm not convinced. I'm really not. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, our XG is this and that and da-da-da-da-da and all, you know. I don't really care. The results aren't where they need to be. We're 8th in the Premier League. We played 9 games and lost 4. That is not good enough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it isn't. And like I say, when you look at that Premier League table, and again, look, the reason why we haven't been sharing the Premier League table on it, I just say, guys, today is that, you know, to look at the table after 3, 4, 5, 6 games, I just don't feel that's kind of, you know, counterproductive, really. I mean, look, you might ask me why am I sharing it after 9 games? Look, we're getting to a point now where you kind of, I think, towards the kind of period of November, December, you get a feeling for where the team is in terms of the teams around them. And at the moment, yes, granted, we've got Forest and Brighton above us. I'm a little bit concerned already that the gap between us and Chelsea is already at, was that 4 points there? And when you look at where Spurs are in combination with where the top 4 is, where we know the club want to be, we're already 5 points off Aston Villa in terms of the top 4. And at the moment, Ange Postecoglou said before the ball was even kicked at the start of the season, he wanted Spurs in the title race. But at the moment, Spurs are 10 points off leaders Manchester City in terms of the top of the table. Look, I don't think any of us truly believed at the start of the season we were going to be in a title race. Maybe I'm wrong. You know, Macca's probably the most positive fans on here. Maybe Macca did believe we were going to be in a title race. Did you, Macca?
I still do.
It still does. I mean, that's Macca for you. But I mean,
I don't look. At the end of the day, here's the thing, right? I am joking.
Yeah,
right? But when
I know.
it's interesting. Hang on a minute, right? When you're looking at the Premier League table after 9 games,
Yep.
Let me read this out to you. Played 9, right? You keep that one up. For the listeners, we've got the Premier League table up, right? The actual current Premier League table. I'm going to read this one out for you, okay? Played 9, won 3, drawn 5, lost 1, scored 11, let in 7, 14 points. We are 7th in the Premier League table. Does anyone notice the difference? Yeah, it's a different table. Do you know what it was? The 15-16 season under Poch. Poch's second season. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. I'm not saying that Ange is going to be in the next Poch and he's going to do better. I'm just saying we're looking at the league table and it is very frustrating. We had a title challenge that season. I'm not saying that we're going to do it now, and everybody's going, "Oh, you're deluded." But we were deluded at that point under Poch, thinking we was going to have a title challenge. But it happened, and we were battling Leicester for that title. There are lots of different things. We're not going to have a title challenge this year, but I think the key thing is that the league table. This time last year, we were top, and I'm getting deluded. And but then where did we finish? We ended up finishing 5th. So it's still an opportunity for us to finish higher in the league. But most people I talk to, including you amazing people that I work with on the show, keep telling me we're not bothered about top 3 or top 4. We're not bothered about. What we're bothered about is winning the cups and winning the Europa Leagues. And guess what? We're unbeaten in the Europa League and we're unbeaten in the cups. So until Wednesday, Rick, where you can just absolutely butt to me because Man City are coming to town, what have we got to, not to moan about? None of us moaning, but you see where I'm coming from? Like, I think it's really, look, I'm not trying to jazz up the performance or anything today. We were shite. Excuse me, younger viewers, but we were absolutely shit. And that is the reality. And he didn't do enough. Ange Postecoglou, you know I back him. He didn't do enough today. We couldn't handle Mateta, who, by the way, Glasner changed the formation up. All we had to do today was score. In my opinion, that's all we had to do. Well, and we couldn't do it. And we didn't change it. And to be fair, we made, how many substitutes did we make? 4 or 5 in the end? We did make changes. We did put 2 up top. We did try, and nothing worked. And, it's not one of them days. And I'm not saying, but it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating. But this is we went through this before with new managers. They all go through it. And he's also still going through it. Now, maybe my patience is a bit longer than others. And I do agree. I agree with Patrick about XG and this, that, and the other. But simply everything today, statistics-wise, performance-wise, eyeball test, as Crackers always says, was way below par, and we all should be miles better than that. And I think you're going to play it, so I don't want to ruin it too much. But the Vicario thing, this is simply today about like Crackers summed up perfectly about going in for a drink in a dodgy flat roof. Can't remember what he said, flat roof place. But the reality is that we're not drinking champagne in our wonderful, H Club corridors. We're going down and mixing it with in the mixer, and we can't do that. Now, does that mean that we're never going to be able to do that? I don't know. But Van der Ven, who all of us wax lyrical about, was shocking today. Romero, World Cup winner, shocking today. Udogie, who I love, shocking today. You know what I mean? These guys weren't good enough on the ball, off the ball, tracking runners, winning duels. And the high frustration, you can see how frustrated I am. The frustration is I keep backing this team. I want to love this team. I like this team. I like these team. I like the players. I like these people. But every time we put something in there, like this, a performance in like that, it's another notch in it off, thinking, oh, fucking hell, here we go again. But here's the thing. There's a reason why you mentioned about the guy, could be a lady as well, but most of the memes I see is a guy in a white coat with a Tottenham badge on it. Yeah. It's not me, by the way, but it looks like it. The reason why you mentioned that's not because of Ange. Yeah. And that's not because of some of these players. That the Dr. Tottenham tag has followed us for years. And this is the problem is constantly. Why have we not gone to Palace and had a fight today? Why not? Is that because of Mickey Van der Ven, he's a good-looking guy and he don't want to get his face bashed in? You know what I mean? Is it because Ange don't know how to change up, or is it because of something else? I don't know what it is, Rick. I generally don't. But that picture there of Ange Postecoglou on screen literally sums up everything. That is a man that don't know what to do next, and that's what's scaring me, because I don't want to get rid of this guy. I think he's going to do the business. I generally think he's going to do business. The parallels with other managers that we've had when they've had tricky starts and so on and so forth is there. I've seen the progression. I've seen where we're going, the high press. No one pressed today. Did anyone see our team press? There was nothing in the legs and that's what I can't understand. This is basics: energy, activity, pressing. There was nothing there. And why not? And that's what I don't get. Sorry to waffle on, but
no, it's fine. I'm going to bring Cracks in a second. But before I do, just to give you the overall stats from that game, it feels like we've done it over already. And sorry, Cracks, he's having to relive it again, the poor bloke. I'm so sorry, Cracks. Look, in terms of the game itself, obviously it finished 1-0 at Palace. 14 shots from Palace to Spurs' 11. 6 shots on target for Palace. In respect to Spurs' 3. Fouls committed, 16 on Palace's side, 12 for Spurs. Touches in the opposition box. Spurs with 26, Palace with 22. Keeper saves, Vicario the busy of the two keepers with 5-3. Aerial duels, Palace winning that 20-15, which won't be a surprise. It felt like really Palace won a lot of the 50-50s. The second balls, they picked them up. Corners, we both shaded it in the end, 8-8. But possession-wise, Spurs dominating that, which is a usual feature under Ange Postecoglou, 33.8 to Ange's Spurs side of 66.2. The XG one is a selling tat. I know some people can't stand XG, but it says a lot there. 1.04 for Palace, which isn't that high. For Spurs, 0.84, which tells you really how hard it was for Spurs to really get off the ground when it comes to creating chances at Palace. And to be fair, I think many would agree that had Spurs scored, it may have very much been a different game, because we know Palace went into the game, of course, winless in 8. Pressure was building, of course, on manager Oliver Glasner. But again, at the same time, Palace got the job done, and that conspired to see you guys send us in your droves a number of statements and questions that come into this show. We're going to give you a flavour of what has come in on this show. Like I say, thank you so much. Ashwin Rajanesh says, the Maddison and Kulu pairing just doesn't look the part without Bentancur playing behind them. Absolute shambles in midfield. No control of any phase of play. We weren't able to even string a couple of coherent passes together. Kamal says, why are we so inconsistent? That is our issue now for quite a while. That's, I think, has been a main dominative feature in the opening half an hour of this show. Joseph Rivers says, why do we seem to always lose our heads away from home? Under a little bit of pressure and we crumble. Last season, we had some incredible performances away from home, but look ashamed of ourselves this season. We'll come on to that away form in just a second, because there's an interesting trend that is going on there. David Lynch says, I absolutely love Ange Ball, so why don't we play it? I'm not Mystic Meg, but I could tell, I think Mac has said this before on the show, I could tell from the first 5 minutes we weren't going to win that game. David Lynch there says that. Yusuf said, how can Ange get his tactics so spot on against West Ham? And in this game, we were so toothless in attack. Take their creativity out of the game. Leave Bentancur till post 80 minutes of being brought on. I'm still behind Ange, but this is extremely frustrating. Damien says, I don't have any expectations for this season. We're just a 6 out of 10 team. Playing in Europe is not good for us. That's now back-to-back losses after playing in the Europa. I think we have to make that point with the Europa League, that Spurs, I think they made between 8 to 9 changes for this game, and they were at home, so there was no travelling involved. When you're changing that many of the players, I find it really hard to use the Europa League as any kind of excuse. I really, really do, and that's something I can't really get behind. MG Boy Hotspur says, where was that energetic, high-pressing style of football? It was only played by Crystal Palace and not our team. We'll try and get through more if we can, guys, throughout the show. But again, thank you so much for all those that have got in touch. Over 60, like I say, questions have come in. We'd love to read them all out. We would. What we are going to quickly do before we zip over to Crackers there to discuss the away form, I think what is quite telling is from some of the players about just the current mentality of the Spurs group. And we're going to play you some clips from Vicario and Ange Postecoglou quickly. And we'll be back after this. Very, very few clips to bring you.
Okay, Vic's joined us at Selhurst Park. Vic, difficult afternoon for us.
Yeah, disappointed defeat today. We didn't expect this outcome today, but it is what it is, and every outcome has something to say, and has to say big thing to us that maybe we didn't fight as we could fight today, and it's disappointing. We have to take it very personally. It has to hurt a lot, but fortunately in football we have another occasion in 2 days in a big game. So now we have to personally analyze this game and go forward, because in 2 days we will have another game.
You mentioned the fight. I mean, Palace wanted a game like that, didn't they, Vic? That's what they wanted to do. They wanted it to be scrappy. They wanted it to stop-start, and they managed to do that against us.
Yeah, yes, of course they really want it, but we have to know that when you come to play away from home here in the Premier League, every team has a little bit more to show in front of their fans in terms of attitude, in terms of power, in terms of taking care about things. And today they showed, and we showed less than them. So for us as a team, we have to improve this aspect, because to win game of football is not just about play good football. It's also about this kind of stuff, and we have to put in there as soon as we can, because we need to change this. How can I say, this mountain, of results, up and downs. We have to be more stable in our results, because we have the quality, but the quality sometimes is not enough.
I've got to say, I think there's interesting words there from Vicario, because I think he does mirror how a lot of fans are feeling about the lack of fight. And I want to bring in Cracks, but before I do, I just want to play, if I can, this interview from Ange Postecoglou that I felt was quite telling, if I can to say, on the back of the game to a reporter for Match of the Day. So I'm going to bring this in if I can, guys, just in regards to Ange Postecoglou's comments after the game, and we'll be back in literally a second after bringing this to you.
Ange, your assessment of that today?
Yeah, look, it was just one of those games where just a lot of stoppages, a lot of battles, and they ended up winning the majority of them, and coming out on top.
Would it be fair to say you didn't reach the level that you've been used to in recent sort of weeks, considering the run of form you've been on?
Just don't think it was that sort of game. Like I said, there's a lot of disruptions, a lot of stoppages, a lot of downtime, and it's hard to sort of get any fluency. But we had to battle today, and just try and stay in the game. But fair to say they did it better than us.
There were a few times when some of your players looked a bit frustrated because they didn't have a passing option on. Did you sense that as well, that sometimes there was a lack of options for them?
Not really. I thought there was plenty of options, but like I said, we ended up turning into a game that they kind of, they were thriving on at the time, particularly away from home. The crowd's going to get behind them, and we should have dealt with it a lot better.
The way the goal came about as well, there were a couple of close shaves before that. Fair to say that maybe your game playing out from the back wasn't the high standards that you're used to?
No, it was just a poor goal to concede. It's got nothing to do with playing out from the back. If you if you don't do it the right way, then, you know, whether you do it at the back, in the middle, or anywhere else on the park, you're going to get punished, and that's what happened.
At the end, they went over to the away fans. There seemed a bit of disgruntlement from the supporters about the performance today. Can you understand that?
I'd be very surprised if they were happy, mate, yeah.
Because you're not happy, obviously.
Why would I be happy? Is there a question there? Why would I be happy about today or our supporters? So our supporters are unhappy, I'm unhappy, the players are unhappy. I think that's a fair assessment.
Only because I asked you if your level dropped below what you expected. You didn't necessarily think that was the problem, so...
No, but I identified another problem, which was that we didn't battle today like they did. So I think if you're suggesting that our fans somehow weren't happy with today, then I think that's a fair assessment. I'm not happy, the players aren't happy.
Again, you know, say very telling. He's obviously really frustrated after that game, and we all know that when you're putting a mic in the front of a manager straight after the game, you're going to get raw emotion and raw reaction from Ange Postecoglou. And I mean, Cracks, I want to bring you in there. I mean, firstly, first time you've seen that, what was your gauge of that interview? Because many are maybe feeling he's quite aggressive towards the reporter. Maybe some are finding the questions are quite condescending. I don't know. What was your take on that interview for you from Ange Postecoglou? Can you get anything out of that interview for you?
Well, he just looked so beaten. He was flat. His post-match interview almost matched like what we'd done during the game. He just looked completely flat and out of it. And I don't know, as manager, maybe you should just be trying to find some words or some amount of body language or some amount of energy to just own it, suck it up and say, you know, we need to do this, this and this. It wasn't good today, but you get where I'm coming from. There was such a lack of anything from him. And I've just sat there and watched that and thought, like, I'm uninspired, absolutely uninspired. Then he gets touchy for being like asked a couple of questions. Okay, they wasn't framed very well, those questions, but yeah, he just seemed so browbeaten by it all. But then, you know, he said that we never had the fight in us coming here today to Palace. Well, we knew what was coming. We knew this is what it would be today.
So yep.
And you knew that they would be disrupting, and you knew that they wouldn't allow you to play your normal pressing game. So, you know, you can't always turn up at every type of dance in ballet shoes, can you? Like, and today was get your Dr. Martens on and jump around like and get involved in the mosh pit, wasn't it? But like, so this is the problem. He's wedded to his style and his philosophies so much. He can't go and do something a little bit different just for a game or these types of games. Go and dig in, go and battle. You know, if the pass isn't on, throw one over the top. This is what I'm saying. We just went to try and do exactly what we always try to do. And it works when it works, and when it doesn't, you get today. I mean, you know, it was just in the end today we were so poor. I even said to somebody, the guy next to me, I'd take a Timo Werner 1-on-1 at the moment just for something. That's how terrible it was. I really would have done. I'd have had him one. I'd have loved to have seen him go 1-on-1. We all know what was going to happen, but it just nothing. And he just looked. I don't know. He just seemed really, really low energy. He looked like, and he isn't, by the way. Let me just stress, he isn't. But he looks like when a manager is interviewed at the end of their tenure and they know that it's over. So it was that type of energy. He
looks like after every defeat, doesn't he, though? He looks like after every defeat.
Let me reiterate that again. I'm not saying this is his last game or alluding to anything, but that was the type of vibe and energy. He looked broken and beaten, and that's not his place to be.
That's not his cab, is it? Sorry.
I'm at my daughter's place in Ilford, and it's like living in GTA round here.
I know. I thought they stormed him out of their Cracks when you said that.
Oh yeah, it's just odd. But he's got a very odd style anyway, hasn't he? He never looks at the camera. He's got that Jerry Francis thing going on, that sort of looking round and sort of like down at his feet, and just strange. I just want it, and the cough, and it's just.
But hold on, he talks to Mark
something-
Schwartz, who looks him in the face, or Hope to Sport for the Oz, doesn't he? Oz channel, he seems to look at him in the face.
Yeah,
he doesn't have a problem doing
he
that.
does. Exactly. But no, very, very downbeat interview. Odd energy.
Yeah, let's address the away form, Pat, because that's one of the things I think after the game is becoming quite an element of a concern. Now, look, just want to make this very, very clear that Palace, I can see we've got some Palace folk in the comments here during the show. Like I say, thank you so much, guys, for getting involved. Obviously not the result we wanted to give you, but that's football for you. I think everyone kind of knew, Pat, going into this game that Palace, I think Oliver Glasner's team talk would be get in Spurs' faces, make it difficult for them, be scrappy, and the more scrappy you're going to be, the better chance we're going to get of winning this game. And to be fair to Palace, that is exactly what they did from the first minute right through the course of the game. They made it difficult. They put Spurs under pressure. They harassed them. They pressed them at all times. And that's where teams have got their success. Now, when you're looking at our away form, which is becoming a bit of a worrying trend on the road, in general, our away form under Ange, if you go back, what are we? We've played 24 games in the Premier League under Ange away. We've won 8. We've drawn 7. We've lost 9. And just to put into perspective, the wins that we've had under Ange in terms of that away form, which again, look, we're sampling a size here. We've had away wins at Bournemouth, Burnley relegated, Luton relegated, Palace, Forest, Villa with 10, Sheffield United relegated, and Man United with 10 men. Now, Spurs have gone behind at some point in 14 of their last 24 away Premier League games under Ange Postecoglou, and they've only won one of those games, being the 5-2 win at Burnley over a year ago. How concerning, Pat, for you is the away form? And again, just an additional point on that maybe some would say that Man United is a bit of an outlier because Man United played into our hands because they allowed us to really dominate that game as if we were the home team. And therefore, if they had pressed us, could that have been a different result? But look, just want to be very clear for fair balance. Give me your views, Pat, on that away form. Is that a concern? The reason why I bring up the away form, this is my just personal opinion on this, is that the away form, in my opinion, is a barometer for any team that wants to be a solid, consistent, decent side in the Premier League. And to go back to Lee's point, and Lee, I hope you forgive me for saying this, we're going to whisk back around you in a second, that under Maurizio Pochettino, season, I think, 2 and 3, Spurs' away record was actually tremendous under him. We went away and, there was a feeling that you'd have to really play well against Spurs to get a result. Whereas under the current feeling and what we're seeing at the moment with Spurs week in, week out, is that if you press this team, if you harass this team, if you scrap, if you get in their faces, you're very likely going to win the game. Is that a fair point, Pat? And give me your thoughts overall on that away form.
Yeah, our away form is shocking. It's really concerning. I think I saw a stat on Twitter. Our last 13 away games, we've lost 8 by the way, drawn 3, only won 2. One of them was the Man United game, obviously 3-0. It's all well and good. I know, Ricky, you said Villa and United. I didn't even realise, they both ended up with 10 men. That's not our fault. That's us playing well, frustrating the opponents, causing them to do things they don't want to do and getting a man sent off. So I won't discredit us with that. But with that being said, it's shocking. It's awful. And we are a product of our, of our environment, and we're molded in our manager's image. And when, like Cracker said, I watched that interview just then, I almost fell asleep. It was so boring. He had no eye contact. He looked like he didn't want to be there. And if that's how he's talking to the players and talking to the team, then no wonder we're playing like that. That was, I don't know, man. I just, he looked like a guy that doesn't want to be there. And I'm not saying that's the case, but Jesus Christ, give me more than that. As a fan who's watched that game and that shocking performance, if that's what I'm seeing my manager talk to the guys and and then he's getting ratty with the guy who's asked him a question, he's not answered it properly. So obviously, as a reporter, you're going to try and make him stumble and slip up. It's really, come on, man. And again, during the game, he did exactly what he did in that interview. Just stood there doing fuck all. Put a rocket. I said this last time I was on there. Put a rocket up some of these players' asses. Tell them to, make that run, get in position, scrap with the opponents. foul somebody, do something to stop the flow or to create some sort of reaction. There was nothing throughout that game. Yeah, he made a triple change with 30 minutes to go. That was cool. But other than that, Ange did nothing. And, people saying it's the players, it's on them. It's on the manager as well at the end of the day. He's the guy that has to get these guys ready to battle, ready to fight, run through a brick wall. And that performance there showed that these guys aren't really there. And, like I said, if we can, it's all well and good playing pretty football and winning 4-0, 4-1, 3-0. But when push comes to shove and the chips are down, there's no fight in this team. And that is concerning as well. Crystal Palace, player for player, man for man, we're better than them. Cool. But if they're going to show that commitment, that desire, that hunger, that tenacity, and we're not going to match it at this level, you're going to get beat. And I can't, fair play to the Palace fans in here. They're all being honest, and they're all, none of them are coming in here, talking rubbish. And they deserved it today. They deserved it. And to be fair, on another day, they beat us 2-0 or 3-0 because we had absolutely nothing. Vicario made some good saves. Don't get me wrong, he did put us in trouble a bit with some of his passing, but I didn't see anything. And it is concerning because we've got much tougher tests than Palace away, with all due respect.
We have.
With all due respect to Palace, we've got much tougher tests than them. So unless we actually get our act together, there might be some real drubbings in the pipeline because, that's not what I want to see. And I don't know. Kulusevski wasn't at it today. Maddison played okay. If I'm Maddison, I'm knocking on the manager's door tomorrow and saying, why do you keep taking me off? Like, we need something out of this game. I'm not chief creator. I'm not playing badly. Why do you keep taking me off? I'd generally ask that question and see what he has to say. Because he's always the fall guy. Yeah. And when you look at his stats and his performances, they're not bad. So I don't really understand why, when we're chasing the game and we need something, you take off both Madders and Kulusevski. When he took both of them off, we absolutely lost control of that game. Like, we knew we weren't going to score. It was awful. So that, again, is on Ange. I don't really understand that. Great, he's making changes, but the changes didn't make sense.
Just on that, if I can, Patty, I actually think Kulusevski is going to get sent off. I think if he hadn't taken off Becky, I think Becky is getting a red card because he got a yellow, whether or not it was a yellow or not, he got a yellow and he had a couple of fouls before that and he had a couple after that as well. And I was thinking, and to be fair, right, I'm gonna say this because I like to make sure that it's a balanced view. I think he's been our best player, or one of our best players, if not our best player, Dejan Kulusevski. I think he's been absolutely superb this year. But today he was absolutely terrible. Like everyone was, he was terrible. And again, just coming back to some of the Palace, they'd done a job on us proper, and they knew what to do. Like it was only a week ago, Rick, that you was on this very show saying that Kulusevski is giving you a little bit of Moussa Dembele vibes. Well, the only Moussa vibes that he was giving off today was Sissoko. I mean, let's be absolutely clear of that. You know what I mean? And it was,
Sissoko got player of the season once.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was just about to say.
What year are you referring to with Sissoko? We did that Patty to get a player of the year.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that. And even Sissoko got player of the season. So, look, I mean, I think at the end of the day, look, it's a really tough one. I don't want to just be the guy that's on here out of us four, the only one that's sticking up for Ange and getting battered for it.
No, not at all.
But equally as well, look, he does share the blame. He was terrible today in the way that he's failed to get his team up for this game. This is a London derby. This is a game of our London rivals down the road. This is a game where, and again, let's have it right. Palace and the Palace fans in the group would tell us they were outstanding at the end of last season, absolutely brilliant. But they've come into this season with trying to fit in Nketiah, trying to in and out with Mateta. Can Mateta play up top with Nketiah on the left, on the right, coming in, and it hasn't really worked for him. He dropped Nketiah today and played Mateta up top, and he gave us all sorts of problems. He made Van de Ven look like he was on a spinning top sometimes. And again, this is a defender, getting outpaced today. What's that all about? Mickey Van de Ven getting outpaced. He got booked for it, didn't he? He could have been sent off. Some people screaming for a red card. So, it's just from top to bottom today, the performance, Cracker said it earlier, it stunk. And it absolutely stunk. But you've got to also give sometimes, we can't be arrogant enough to think that we should be. We want to go to Crystal Palace and roll them over, right? We want to do that. We want to go. Of course, we want to do that. We don't have the right to do that. And like Pat just said, like again, it's both sides. Our away record, when you just said that, Pat, I mean, that is embarrassing. Our away record is embarrassing. It's terrible. It's not good enough. So then why do we expect that we're going to go there and roll Palace over 4-0? If our away record's that bad, we should be going there. And actually, how many of us in the group right here, right now, would have taken a draw to that Palace? No one. Before the game,
but I was worried.
Yeah, but no one would have taken a draw. No one would turn around and go, "Oh yeah, do you know that's a good. I'll take a draw there." And to your point earlier, under Poch in his, only looking at his second season, his third season is completely different. We were absolute steamroll. We were titans in that third season under Poch.
Yeah.
In his second season, the first 10 games, he drew 5 because he would go and he would get draws. Conte would say, "If you can't win, don't lose."
Don't lose.
That was a game today, wasn't it? We couldn't win it. Like we said earlier, we played for 2 hours and not score, so don't lose. And and we lost. And fair play to Palace, but it's very frustrating. But something's got to change. I'm not saying it's manager, right? But something's got to change because, I mean, someone put in a group earlier, we lost 16 games since Ange taken over. I mean, that's not good.
It's worrying, isn't it? It's worrying.
I'm worried that somebody's going to push the button here, Rick. That's what I'm worried about. And I'm worried about it because what then? Like, Ange is the guy to take us forward, in my opinion. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's in my opinion. If somebody comes in, Mr. Levy and the ball come in and go, "Oh, he's out," then what? We're back to square one again. What are we going to do?
Can I say, Cracks, on this point? Because I think you said it earlier, some pretty football at home can maybe con you into thinking we've got a really good football team here. But sooner than later, when you do look at our points return, at times it's the away record, it's the overall record. It is concerning, Is it just the case, Cracks, this needs 2-3 more windows where you get some real, what I would call them, scrappers come in? I'm talking about players down the years. I'm taking my mind back thinking we had, I'm not saying we need this kind of level of caliber. Please don't get me wrong and shoot me for saying this. But, when Wilson Palacios came in at the time, we needed that kind of player. When, dare I say, I'm trying to think of players that, Scott Parker came in at that time. We needed that kind of player. Do we lack general fighters in this team? Because Bissouma, on his day can be a really good midfielder. I think he's not had a bad season so far. Bentancur, I think, is technically very gifted. I'm not sure if these are the players that you go to war with that really scrap for you away at the likes of a Palace, a Brighton. You look at, the games you've lost away from home. But just in general, some of those teams around the kind of bottom half sides that when the going gets tough, and Palace, we knew going into this game, were going to absolutely fight for their lives. They hadn't won in 8 games. Managers under pressure. Players are under pressure. The overall feeling around Palace is they needed to get a result. And that kind of fed into that narrative that if they come and give everything and they press, they hassle, they push Tottenham into a corner, Spurs will not be up for the fight. And we've seen that so many times away from home. What do we need, Cracks? Is it a case of players or is it a case of the manager, in your opinion, having to be that bit more adaptable, which goes against everything that has shown, which he's done in his career to date? He just hasn't ever done that.
Well, look, Palace today, the players there, they're not 3 foot taller and 5 stone heavier than any of our players. Physically matching up, we're a physical match for them as much anything. So it's the fight in the man, isn't it? Not the man in the fight as such. We could do with somebody in midfield that offers a little bit more still, but that can also be somebody that can play a bit. So, you can't, the days of just having like a clogger in midfield that's just going to go and kick people out of the game is long gone. He's getting sent off every week. You just can't have them guys in the game. That game's gone. But you can certainly have a player that can go and put a foot in or get round people and rally like other players and pull people along and maybe get hold of people by the scruff of the neck in training or half time in the changing room. But why can't that not be the players that we've got now? And that comes from a culture within the club. So this is what we've got to get. We've got to be able to do both things. We've got to be able to be finessed, but then also be able to go and put it about a little bit and just go and have a bit of a scrap. So you look at Dominic Solanke, a huge lad, absolutely huge. Romero, I mean, he's no shrinking violet. He's hardly Jose Dominguez, is he? You know, there's some.
Cracks, can I ask you, just on Romero, let you come back on him. What's happened to Romero? Do you think, because I don't think he's even been booked at all this season. Now, we all were praising just how much more disciplined he's become. Have we lost the fight in Romero to some degree? And I'm not talking about actual physical fighting. I'm talking about a player that used to play on the edge. That really seems to have gone out of his game. You know, he seems to have really gone from one degree to another now, where we don't see that fight in Romero. Is that because he's been told that? Is that because of his contract situation? What does that play to for you at the moment?
He does look like a man that's got eyes elsewhere at the moment, and whether that's pointing towards my part of the world I normally live in and getting back out to Spain, I don't know. But do you know what? He slows us down when we play. He's just slowed down. I don't know. This is one of these things you'd probably have to ask him, to be honest, because he has lost a lot of that aggression. But what he should have done was progressed to have a controlled aggression. It used to be completely out of hand, didn't it? You know, he was getting sent off. He couldn't quite get to that point and not go beyond it. He got to the edge and went over the edge. Now he don't even get near the edge, does he? He just looks like everything's come out of him with that type of aggression. But he's the type of player. He's a World Cup winner. He's a South American player. I live amongst South Americans.
He's elite, meant to be the leader. Ange says he's the leader.
Exactly. So I know what sort of mentality and people that they are. And he should be one of those getting round the players and geeing them up and getting hold of them and just saying, you better start getting a foot in here and, you know, and scrapping. But we just lost out on everything today. I think we probably do need a midfield shield because it does look a little bit light with Maddison, Bissouma, and that only really works when they got Bentancur behind them. So we could maybe do with a Moussa Dembele type coming in, but you should also be seeing more from these players, and that's culture. That's a cultural thing, whether that's an Ange culture or just a Spurs culture, because a lot of these things that we've seen today, we've been seeing for years, you know, under a lot of different managers and different players. You know, there's a lot of these types of souffle performances like it was today. We've seen for years and years. So then you start having to look at the culture of the club, Rick, and that's set at the very top. Now, you know, do we really want to start getting into that side of it? Well,
no, we probably don't right now. But
but that is something that we do need.
We do it
to
every
look
week.
at. I mean,
yeah.
Well, you know, you kind of, the players are thinking to themselves, well, you know, the board seem to be more worried about when Beyonce's coming to play next, rather than you know, when what's going on in the football team. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, all these extra events and everything that goes on around the club, you want shiny new players, you've got to bring the revenue in. So I've got no problem with that. It's if that is becoming the main focus of the board and the eye comes off the ball a little bit with the football, and there doesn't seem to be a drive and determination from the top to permeate down through the whole club. So, yeah, I don't know. Probably a better question for Mac at this. Is there somebody that we need to bring in that like looks at things like business cultures? Because these people do exist, these consultants, they come in and they'll go, well, you're culturally not doing this, you're culturally not doing that, this needs to change. You probably need to bring in somebody that does this, you know, a level of the board that deals with everything else that goes on, and a part of the board that deals solely with the football and make sure that the foot's kept on the gas. So I don't know. Yeah, I think a lot of things come into this. I think it's a huge cultural issue.
It's really interesting. Just coming in with that, Rick, if I can. I think it's a really interesting point. I definitely think it's a cultural issue. I don't think it's a cultural issue from Ange. I think he's actually moved the dial where we want it to be. In my opinion, I think when you look at that interview, I think he's embarrassed. I think it's not that he don't want to be there. I think he don't want to be there because he's embarrassed because his players just didn't do what he wanted them to do today. And I think like us as fans looking at this game today, giving out players 3s and 4s, I think that's what he's doing. And I think when you talk about the board, talk about Mr. Levy and everyone else, the Tottenham Hotspur board, it's culturally when you walk around the stadium, when you walk around the ground, when you're in the corridors of power and in the dressing rooms, where's the winning? Where is it? Like what there isn't. There's the old stadium and mashed up into the new stadium, and I love our stadium. I absolutely love it. I think it's the best in the world. Do not get me wrong, but where is the win? Where's the winners? When my father-in-law's a season ticket holder at Chelsea. And he often tells he goes obviously every week. He was there today. It's annoying because he come back to my house late after he went there and was like, "Oh, how'd you get on the football?" Knowing full well that we'd just been beaten by Palace, and he was giving it large as a Chelsea fan. But you talk about the corridors of power walking around Chelsea, and they're winners. That's what that is. You walk into that club and you go like Kane said it, and people took it to heart when he went to Bayern Munich. He said, "You can see this club there's a problem here." If you don't win every game, if you lose one game. Jace, one of our own, we love Jace, of course, right? The Oracle, one of our own on here. He said loads of times that there's so many players in our previous squads. I have to say previous because it's not right now, that have lost over 100 games. They're just used to losing. So this is slightly different because we've got a really mixed team, new team, young blood coming through that haven't lost that much. But the club has lost that much. And actually, us fans have lost that much. We are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And we can't do anything about it because nothing's going to change until it changes, to quote Crackers. So yeah. I think it is a cultural thing. Culture needs to be changed over a period of time. You can't change it next week. And I think to be fair, and this is why I like Ange, because to be fair to Ange, he's come into that situation last year. And yes, he's the football manager or the head coach, and his job, and quite rightly so, as you've pointed out before, will be judged on results, right? Judged on results. But the reality of the situation is that he's doing far more than that to change the culture of his football club and to bring it into that world. And that's why I go back to the same point. And I use this word, and it's quite a strong word if you believe Gary Neville. But if the board bottle this project and sack Ange, we are no further forward. And who is going to want to come and take this project on? Or take this football club on? Who's going to want to come and do that? Yeah, money talks. Of course it does, Macca. I can hear you say, yeah, but Macca, of course money talks. The reality of the situation is we've burned Mourinho. We've burned Conte. We're about to burn Ange. He's won. All three of them have won wherever they've been. You can tell me Ange ain't done it in any leagues, but he's won everywhere he's been. We've burned Poch. We've burned Harry Redknapp. We've burned Martin Jol. We've burned all these managers. The next one we come through, why are they going to be any different? Why would you, Rick, Patrick, Crackers, anyone else in the comments, why would you take this job if it isn't other than for money? Which at the end of the day, because Spurs might end up paying you $5 million a year or whatever, it's $8 million a year, or I don't know what the numbers are, right? But why would you take this on if it's going to just be the same cycle? Do you see where I'm coming from? They're running out of options. And I'm not saying stick with someone who's bad. But when you're trying to change something, completely change it, right? That does not happen in 37 games or 53 games or whatever. It doesn't. And I'm sorry, but it does not. And I think that it's not me being delusional thinking Ange is the man. It's the others. It's other people thinking that we can turn this around that quick. That's the when I'm specifically talking about Cracker's point on cultural, because it filters down. The philosophy of football has completely changed since Ange walked through the corridors of this football club. We lost our best ever player, striker, whatever you want to say. He's still banging hat tricks in. Don't tell me Kane is washed up. I think he scored 4 hat tricks already in the Bundesliga. So, you know, he's walked into this. I'm not trying to defend Ange. I'm just trying to say, from the club's perspective, we are. If we're all on the same page, that picture you sent earlier with Joanne and Ange and Paratici and Daniel Levy and all of them people are brand new. They have not been here for 18 months. All of them that you can see on your screen now. You know, so it's about trying to pull that together and change what has been set by Daniel Levy and the hierarchy over a 20-odd year period, which is mediocre, not winning. And I'm not saying this guy's going to. I want them to work. I want all of this to work, right? I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying throwing it in the bin now and starting it again is just going to give you the same thing. And we'll be on this pod. Bookmark it. Is that what the young dynamic people say on social media? Bookmark it.
Pat's probably the one that is more in tune with our young audience.
We will be back on here in 18 months saying the same thing. And it might be we're too defensive. It might be that we're soft. We've got no balls to go out and win the game or whatever you want to say. But we'll be saying the same thing, because you cannot keep. And somebody said in the comments, I didn't get their name, so forgive me, but I'm gonna come back at you. You said earlier in the comments, this is not the same as an Arteta. It's exactly the same as Arteta's second season. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Arteta is going on. By the way, Arteta's won an FA Cup. Fair play to him. I don't know why Arteta is the benchmark, but it seems to be because of that lot down the road. He's won nothing since his first season at that club, which was an FA Cup after that. And his second season, his second season in charge, he was 8th along all the way through. And he was losing to West Brom and fucking Norwich, the same as Liverpool. And so change is hard. Change is hard. If you've ever been through any change in your life, it is difficult. It is hard. But don't throw it in the bin because it gets a bit tough. That's when we've got to hunker down and say, let's go. Because we're going to be back here in 18 months saying exactly the same things.
Look, Rick, football's a bonkers industry. Yeah, it does. It works in a completely different way from a butchers, a bakers, and a candlestick makers and everything else. Football, everything in football has a shelf life, and then it needs a refresh. And a manager comes in, stays for a certain amount of time. Pep's an outlier where he's coming up to doing 10 years. You just don't seem to get that kind of culture. Players come in 4 or 5 years on the whole, 3 years, and they're gone. So this might well be that the man on the board at the very, very top, Daniel, Donna, they've been there 20 odd years now. Perhaps the club, like this isn't coming from some ENIC angle, by the way. This is more from a cultural angle of, does the top of the club need some fresh eyes and some fresh voices looking at what goes on? Because it's football, and 20 years is too long. You're not hearing it anymore. You're not hearing from them. They've been there 20 years. So it's not ENIC out, but maybe like change who it is within ENIC that's coming in and doing those roles to try and pep things up a little bit, pardon the pun, and and just put some new fresh impetus into the club and maybe try something a little bit different, because culturally, like Lee said, we just burn through everyone. So there's probably quite a lot that needs looking at. Even Daniel would have sacked Daniel by now if Daniel employed Daniel.
They would argue, Cracks, that they are doing. I will tell you what their response is. They will argue that they are doing that already with the likes of Langer coming in, with the likes of obviously Scott Munn coming in. Whether this comes to fruition is another question. Pat, I do want to go to you. What we are going to do, we do need to squeeze in our customary break of the show for our listeners and audio. Guys, thank you so much for your support as always. We've only got close to 4,000 of you that are watching us live. So again, we can't thank you enough for all your support for last word on Spurs. We truly do appreciate it. Look, I think we recognise it's a big week for the football club. Certainly a big week for me as a fan. You guys know what the Carabao Cup game means to us on a Wednesday night against Man City. We then got Villa to come on Sunday. It feels like it's going to be a big week for the football club. Pat is involved as his Crackers, although Lee's on some annual leave, so he's very lucky to be away. That's why Lee has saved it all up for now.
I'm going to the games, mate. I'm going to the stadium, mate. You know what I mean? That's why I'm not annual leave. I'm still putting myself for everything that you lot are putting yourself through.
Got to say, he's on annual leave.
You lot.
I must make that clear. He's on annual leave for last one on Spurs. He isn't on annual leave in terms of Spurs watch.
Hey, let me tell you something, Rick. I'll be straight on here after a few beers when we smash Man City on Wednesday. Go through to the next round of Carabao Cup. I'm going to be coming and firing back onto the show, and we're all going to be winning the league again. This is football. And then when we lose to Villa at the weekend, we're all going to be doom and gloom and get Ange out. And then the next week when we beat Ipswich, it's going to be like, yeah, we're back. I mean, whew. I told you, it's a crazy train. I named this football club when I first started on this show 7 years ago. I said, this freaking ride is a crazy train, team. It's exactly what we're on. This is Tottenham Hotspur. If you can't handle Tottenham Hotspur, man, let's go get your local club or whatever. Patrick, this is your local club, man.
I know.
Man. You can't get out of the way, sir.
Exactly. I need to bring Pratt in, but can I just say very quickly, Crackers came on to just host this show whilst I had a child and then got stuck on here. He probably must think, what have I ended up doing? I was only going to be doing this part-time. Sorry, Crack.
Rick, I'm sincerely hoping you go for a vasectomy and don't have any more, so I don't have to take it over anymore. Honestly, it's crazy. Yeah, pop in for the snip. Lee's right though. This club, honestly, the results at the moment, it's like old Jimmy Durante, isn't it? Have you ever had the feeling that you wanted to go? Ever had the feeling that you wanted to stay? Go, stay, go. It's just like, it's nuts, isn't it? It's just absolutely bonkers, but consistently inconsistent.
Yeah. It is really like that. Look, we're going to fly through.
We're actually good at that, though, aren't we? That's actually something that we're amazingly good at, being inconsistent.
Consistently inconsistent. I need to bring Pat in. We're going to fly through some of the quick match instances on that game because I think we're all mentally drained. But a reminder, guys out there, we are delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. They have been our partners for the last 4 or 5 years. And you'll know by now, they are the fastest VPN in the world. There's no buffering. There's no lagging. And they are obviously giving you the opportunity to watch your favourite shows around the world. I always make that point for a lot of our fans that tune in and watch this show, watch and listen live or watch it on the rerun, that it's great for your European journeys, wherever you are around the world. So you can still watch your favourite shows. You can also save money on things like accommodation and flights, of course, wherever you are going on holidays at any time of the year. So please go and check NordVPN out. You can get 4 extra months on a 2-year plan with us by hitting that code up of NordVPN.com/LWOS. Right. You'll be intrigued to know, I'm going to bring Pat in here, the point that, look, we've heard Andy's presser there with BBC's Match of the Day. In the written press, which I'm not going to bore you with, but he fought back on the claims that we were out-battled, we were out-fought. Didn't have any of that. Made it very, very clear that he just felt it was one of those games where Palace deliberately wasted a lot of time and it played into their hands. And this is kind of part of the process that we're going to have to go through. And it will basically make the players better in the long run because they're being exposed to these situations. Patty, let me bring you back in. In terms of the team for this one, Spurs did make 8 changes to the team, which again is why I hit back at the claims of using that Europa League as an excuse. The game saw Mikey Moore get his first start for Tottenham in a Spurs shirt in the Premier League, in which he now becomes a record holder of being the youngest player to start a Premier League match for Tottenham since Stephen Carr against Ipswich Town in September 1993. Mikey Moore, 17 years, 77 days old. As expected, Vicario returning goal despite Fraser Forster's display in the win over AZ Alkmaar. Pedro Porro, Christian Romero, Mickey Van der Ven, Destiny Doggy make up the back four. In the middle of the park, Ange opted for Yves Bissouma, Dejan Kulusevski and James Maddison as his midfield trio. Pat Mateta, who delivered that fine performance in the second half of last Saturday's win over West Ham, unfortunately had to settle for a place on the bench. As we knew before the game, Heung-min Son still not quite right for this game and did miss out through injury, although we've heard from Paul O'Keefe that it was a precaution and Son could have played if need be, but Spurs want to be careful as to not re-injure him and end up on the sideline for a longer period. And also Wilson Odobert missing out on this one. So this team read Vicario Porro Romero, Van der Ven Dougie Basuma, Kulusevski, Madison Johnson, Solanke Moore, with a bench of Forster, Davis, Gray, Dragoshin, Bentancur, Sarr, Bergvall, Werner, Ritchie, Bearing in mind, Patty, like I say, we made 8 changes to this one. I don't think we can use that as Europa excuse. I'm sure you're not going to. But thoughts on the team for you, Patty, when that was announced?
Brilliant team. Couldn't go wrong with what was announced. Everyone was excited to see Mikey Moore start his first game. After his performance on Thursday, you know, every single Spurs fan wanted to see him start. Ange trusted him, threw him in. Brilliant. Loved that. I thought the team was fine. No issues there. Possibly you could have swapped a Basuma for a Bentancur, but all in all, that team was, you know, the strongest 11 and good enough to go and get something out of that game. No one turned up, unfortunately, other than Vicario, and it's odd. You know, I can't. As a collective, we just weren't good enough defensively, offensively, with the ball, without the ball. We just didn't show anything, and yeah, like, you know, to a man, they were better than us all over the pitch. Even some of the Palace players, Muniz, however you pronounce his name, Mulios, I can't remember how you put, but you know, if he needed to foul and get dirty, he did. You know, they did what they needed to do to stop the game, make it scrappy. That's it, Munoz. He was giving us trouble all over. You know, got a yellow card quite early, but was getting stuck in. Mateta, first time I see Mickey van der Ven really get bullied in a game. Like one-on-one, Mateta had his number today. Mickey van der Ven, Lee said it earlier, quite fortunate. I mean, when I first saw it, I thought it was a red card. But then luckily, when they showed the replay, Mateta was running towards the corner flag, running diagonally. So he kind of got a bit of leeway there. But if he would have given him a red card, probably none of us would have argued against it, if I'm being honest. I genuinely thought it was a red card in real time. But then when they showed it back, I was like, okay, fair enough. So the referee gave us one there, because if he got sent off, none of us would have questioned it, if we're being honest. Last man back, definitely fouled him, you know, after getting done by Mateta's pace and trickery. And yeah, I just thought they were much better. Eze hasn't been good all season, but obviously, lo and behold, against us, he has a great game. It's typical, isn't it? The guy that we all wanted in the summer hasn't been good this year for whatever reason. Maybe the Palace fans will be able to tell us a bit more about why he's not been, you know, reached the heights that he did last year. But today he looked good. Will Hughes came in after, you know, a player of theirs got injured. He looked good. They just had a bit more bite and a bit more fight than us. And these guys are, why are you not cracking up? What's going on?
I mean, it's bad. I've got you, Patty. I love you here. You're saying Will Hughes came in with bite, and we've got, you know, lots of Basuma, Bentancur, Madison, Kulusevski.
I know.
You made it in your point, Pat, in the opening stages. They just wanted it more, didn't they? Just fought for every ball, out battled, out willed.
I know.
Even that clip there with the centre, I thought was a red card as well, Patty. 100%.
Yeah.
I thought it was a red card. Even that there, look, even that clip, you can see they
want
it. They just want it more. Like, look at Mateta here running them from is that Mateta on the left? Like, he burst to get that ball. Like, when he's scoring the goal, they just wanted that.
Yeah.
Sometimes football can be so analytic and data. And I love the blue book. You know, I love my stats and whatever. But the reality is, sometimes you've got to run harder than the other dudes, man. Or the dude.
Sometimes you just got to
put it in a shift. Sometimes your legs feel like jelly, and you just gotta go. You just gotta get back up off the canvas and go again. And just couldn't do it. And that's a learning thing. That's a change there. I don't know, but we just could not do it today, mate.
I'm going to stick with Patty. Look, I mean, we saw in the opening minutes there, a little dribble from Mikey Moore before he was fouled by Adam Walton. I mean, most of Tottenham's play in the early stages have been focused down the right with Porro, Johnson, Kulusevski. Mikey Moore was on corner duties in the early period to begin with. He whipped one ball into the box. And on the second occasion, Porro sent a corner straight out of play. I'm sure Crackers would have seen that in the away end somewhere. The ball probably travelling at Selhurst Park. Decky was down on the floor taking treatment after an elbow by Mike Gahey. And Lacroix headed over. A brilliant chance for Palace following Hughes' cross. But Palace did eventually take the lead. And I've got to be honest with you. I mean, look, we'll get Crack's take on it in a second because he was there. But just again, you put the Benny Hill music in there, Benny Hill music, and you'd hear it. It was that bad in terms of comedic Spurs defending. And I'm going to stick with Patty on the goal itself because for Mateta, he scores at the far post from Eze's flick, and it's 15 goals for club and country now since May 24. For Mateta, he's been in really good form there. 24 goals in 2024, and that goal all came from Tottenham trying to play out the back and get themselves into trouble. You had Romero chipping it over an attacker, Van der Ven slipping, and in his own box, losing possession from a Porro hospital pass, I've got to say. Munoz recovers the ball really well, crosses it for Eze, who flicks it towards the unmarked Mateta, who absolutely rifles it past Vicario into the back of the net. I mean, look, just Patty, we've seen so many goals like this in terms of the way they're conceded. I mean, they all seem so comedic. I mean, I've got to say, look, whatever we say about Ange Postecoglou, you can't be telling me he's not pulling his hair out on the touchline when you're seeing this level of defending, because I've said it before, I feel really uncomfortable, Patty, seeing us play out of the back at times because we just don't look like we can do it very good. Is that fair?
It is fair, but then I also wonder, as a coach, why is he not telling them sometimes to just actually put your foot through the ball or actually go long to Solanke? I thought when we went long to him, when we bypassed the midfield and went to him, he actually, the ball sticks and we got players involved, and then they can bounce the ball off him and we can actually make some runs and actually try and target the final third. And I just don't understand why we're so persistent and playing out from the back, even when it's actually killing us. And is the manager saying you have to play out even when the pass isn't on? Or is that the players just, I don't know. A lot of teams overdo it now. Like even when I was watching Southampton against Man City, they were persistent on it. I think the Friday night game, can't remember who played now, but again, teams are overplaying from the back when they can't do it. And it's weird that we keep doing that. Yeah, I don't know, man. That goal that we conceded is pretty much a mirror image of every single goal we concede. Yeah, I don't know. Like Mickey van der Ven he wasn't good today. I love Mickey van der Ven. I think he's amazing. I think he's one of the best defenders in the league. But he had a stinker again today. Like I say again, but last time he had a stinker was probably Newcastle away last year when he was absolutely woeful. When Isaac was twisting and turning and sending him everywhere. That was a bad game. And today it's kind of reminiscent to that. Probably not as bad, but for him to get caught out by Mateta, possibly almost get sent off. He was at fault for the goal. He wasn't good today. Romero's been up and down all season. Pedro Porro defensively wasn't really there today. Udogie was okay. He wasn't really bad, but he wasn't great either. Other than Vicario, like none of the back four, back five pretty much did anything. And yeah, I don't know. Like we keep saying that, Tottenham, the Tottenham way is to attack and all of this stuff. It's all well and good, but if you can't defend, you're never going to get anywhere in this league or never going to win anything.
I do agree with that. But just on today's game, we didn't attack.
I know. So we didn't defend, we didn't attack. We didn't do
There's
anything.
nothing else, and that's the point, isn't it? Like it was terrible. It was bad. I said it right at the beginning. Like when I said about the playing the Ange way, we didn't play the Ange way forward, and we played the Ange way back, and that's why we lost. Because we didn't do anything going forward. Like I don't remember, like you said earlier, the Maddison chance maybe was maybe a good save. Johnson at the post, and you've got to give credit. I mean, I know there's a few Palace fans in it, but you do.
You've got to give credit to Palace. You have to. They made us.
They set up the way. They pressed better than us today. They threw it back. It was really frustrating. I think Dom. I think the points that you made, Patty and Crackers on Dom, I do agree with. But I think he was a shell of himself today because he's battling with three players. There's three massive centre backs just going in at him. Do you know what I mean? And again, sorry to keep defending that. I'm not sorry because otherwise I wouldn't do it if I was sorry. Ange did put Richie on with him. He could have easily taken Dom off and put Richie up top, couldn't he? And just done man for man, but he didn't. He switched it up to get two up top to see if it still couldn't break him down. Credit to Palace.
Yeah, I mean, I'm conscious of time. I think the only thing many would say is that, but what he also did in that substitution, which I think Crackers might have said it earlier, and I think Pat did make this point, is that what that substitution did, it did kill us from. I know we've got Solanke on the pitch, we've got Richarlison on the pitch, we've got Werner on the pitch. That's a whole different debate. But quite literally, it killed us. We took off Maddison and Kulusevski, two of our most creative attacking outlets, and it just didn't work. Again, like you might say credit to him for changing it. I just felt the changes is what they've been under Ange recently have come quite late. But again, we've praised him with that, obviously, Newcastle, West Ham performance where he did change it at half-time. Credit to him. I just felt the changes come too late. Just on the goal itself, Cracks. Ange was asked after the game, I realise you want to play the way you want to play, but are there any problems with the centre-backs clipping the ball at the back for their goal? And Ange said after the game that I think even before we could have dealt with those situations better, it was a poor goal. We should do better at that and not concede like that. And there were other solutions out there. And again, even in that moment, we didn't lose our composure. It just seems we kind of wanted everything to run smoothly. And we know it doesn't, especially in a game like that. I mean, I'm really intrigued to know what your reaction was, Cracks, in that away end with the fans there. Because like you said, it was a fairly positive away atmosphere. We then concede the goal. The nature of the goal, what did that go down like in the away end for you?
Oh, it's just frustration, Rick. Everybody was like, we've just shot ourselves in the foot. We've literally done this to ourselves. And, you could feel it coming. Just before that, there was a couple of times that we tried to play out from the back, and fair play to them, they stopped it. They were straight on us, straight bang, bang, bang. As soon as we was trying to make them little triangles to get out from the back, you could feel that was coming, and then lo and behold, along it comes. So it's just one of those things of like, well, look, I know we normally do this, but today we're just not being allowed to. Find a different solution, find a different way. But I don't know. Is that the players? Do they have a freedom and a license to be able to do things a little bit differently? But do they think to themselves, we're probably going to be better off maybe not trying to do these triangles out of the back here too much, mix it up a little bit, and maybe put a couple of balls over the top, and see if we can't get something in the mix with Dom, or is it them, or is it the philosophy that they seem to be wedded to now? And are they under instructions? No, you do that, you do that, and you do that, and you do it again, and you keep doing it. And I don't know, because Ange in his post-match interviews seems to be saying, well, there was other options, there was other solutions. So is he telling us one thing but telling the players something else? Or are these players frightened because they think to themselves, if I keep doing that, that's not the way he wants us to play, and I might get drummed out of the team? I don't know. You'd have to be a fly on the wall and sort of backstage with all this to know exactly what's going on. But it's what I'm saying. We could see in the stands it wasn't working. That's what led to the goal. Go do something different. Try something a little bit different away from the normal philosophies and patterns of play. But as I say, I don't know whether that's the players have got the license to do that or they're on manners, Rick. I really don't know. So yeah, it never worked. But as like you've said, fair play to Palace. We stunk and they made us stink even more.
Absolutely.
It was as simple as that. They come and done a job on us. We knew that was coming. We knew that was coming today. I just can't believe we didn't go, okay, you know what? We ain't going to be able to do what we normally do here today. Let's work on something in training, a little bit different. Maybe, we just sort of push up another 10 yards, or, just instead of the pretty little triangles, try this, do that. Be ready, because you're probably going to get a couple of balls over the top instead of like to feet where you normally do. It never worked, and that was the worrying thing today. Was it was how much the performance stunk, but like the brainlessness of it to find solutions and the lack of effort. Look, losing in the Premier League to any team isn't unusual.
No, it can happen. It can happen.
Everybody was saying that City were going to spank Southampton about 85-0 yesterday. They won 1-0.
Yep.
1-0. There is absolutely no gimmies in the Premier League. There really isn't. So if you get beat, I'm never unhappy getting beat. I'm unhappy by the manner of defeat. And today was just completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Completely.
I think that's fair.
Spot on.
Yep. Just on these points, I said we are looking for the close of this show. Believe me, we are. Look, Spurs are very lucky not to go 2 down. We have to say that. It was marginally offside, Eberici Eze, which again, we've got it on the screen here. And ball play through, and he is inches away from, making it 2-0. I mean, the flag did go up immediately. The effort creeped beneath Vicario, which if that goal had stood, I think that would have been really, really worrying for Tottenham. I mean, in between that, Spurs did go close to an equaliser, it has to be said. Brennan Johnson almost scoring immediately, but knew very little about it. Van der Ven's powerful shot in the box, just striking him and then hitting the post. Supplied an early chance of Kulusevski in that second half, Brennan Johnson, but very few positive runs during that game. I mean, like Macca said, it was kind of a game in which a lot of the players, you're looking at 3s and 4s for most of them. Maddison, a shot from distance, but didn't really feel like Spurs were going to really push him for the ascendancy. We touched on the fact of that triple change. Richard Arlison, Sarr and Werner on for Maddison, Kulusevski and Moore, respectively. Didn't really see a reaction from the players in general. I don't think anyone really felt Spurs were going to get back into that game, if truth be told. And I do feel for Mikey Moore, I've got to be honest with you. Mikey Moore, of course, making his first appearance of the Premier League, full debut for him in a Spurs shirt. He'd been gutted to be coming off, but look, a poor performance on the team as a whole. I think he can hold his head high. I mean, it wasn't hardly his fault really on the day. I mean, again, I look at the fact of the lack of service for him. Ange was asked after the game about Mikey Moore's debut. He said, look, it wasn't really a great game for anybody out there. Mikey, every time he's out there, he'll be a better player for it. The more we can get him out there in the right sort of environment, then he'll keep on thriving. I'm sure he'll learn a lot from a game like this. The kind of team we want to be, or the way we want to play, we need to be a lot more composed in the way we deal with certain things to not let the game get out of control. There's mixed feelings about the triple sub, which again, I'll leave that to viewers and listeners to see how they felt with the way in which Spurs did that. But I'm going to be honest with you, there wasn't a lot of huffing and puffing and the game played out as it did. And Palace, as we said, rightly won it. We're going to close, guys, on this question to you all. It's a big week in store. You know that. Carabao Cup, of course, on Wednesday. I'm not going to tell you how much that means again because you're bored of me saying it. And we've got obviously Villa, of course, coming to town on Sunday. A huge game in the Premier League. And look, of course, when you look at the nature of games this season, last season, Spurs, they won at Palace last season. They've lost at Palace this season. Villa at home, as we were well aware of, we lost to Villa at home last season. We have a chance to right that wrong. We'll go to Patty first. Patty, can I say, mate, love to see you back on. Sorry it's under these circumstances. I really hope I'm not saying that a lot during this season. What do you need to see, Pat, between now and the respective 7 days to give you the confidence that we are improving, we are getting better? Because I think, look, I know it's only one game. If we beat City in the Carabao Cup, and whether it's a second 11, a third 11, whatever 11 it'll be from City, that will give everybody a feeling that I think we're only 3 games away from Wembley. So I'm looking to try and find, as Anne says, solutions. What do you think, Patty, in these next 7 days might bring?
I mean, I see Pep saying that, you know, with all the fixture, schedule congestion, he's going to play a weaker team. I don't buy into that. Pep knows he's playing a Tottenham team away at a stadium where they've not really had too much success. And it's Man City after all. They're going to, regardless of what team he puts out, they're going to be a good team. And they're managed by literally one of the best managers of all time. So we're going to have trouble regardless of who they put out. But I just need to see us actually take both defensive responsibility and offensive responsibility, actually create some chances, respect opposition, which I'm sure we will as Manchester City, but also play our own game. Today, we just didn't look like any sort of team. I didn't know what we were doing out there today. We weren't defensively solid. Offensively, there was nothing, no patterns of play, couldn't hold on to the ball, couldn't do anything. So, of course, we need to get better. And we have to beat Villa as well, man. Last year, Villa absolutely robbed us of 3 points. I don't know how they won that game. We battered them, but ended up losing. This time around, we need to right that wrong. Villa are a really good team. That is the litmus test. You know, they're a team that are essentially top 4, you know, a real good team now. They drew on the weekend against Bournemouth, but they're a legitimate good squad. Defensively solid, good midfield, and obviously going forward, they've got Duran and Watkins. They're a good squad. So that will be a real litmus test of where we're at the moment. Ideally, I want to see 2 wins. Why not? Ange needs to get something right. The players need to, you know, again, Vicario and all these guys coming out and saying, oh, we're really sorry and this and that. Put it right, man. Do your talking on the pitch. Get us some wins. 2 wins, and then we won't get carried away, but at least we'll see some sort of moving forward, because at the moment we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Played brilliant against West Ham. Everyone thinks, okay, couple wins on the bounce, have we turned the corner? And then we go and do this. So I just want to see some sort of progression now. You know, players taking responsibility. At the moment, defensively, I'm not seeing anyone out there take responsibility. After we concede, no one's really stepping up and saying this is what we need to do. And, you know, I just don't see any of that. Maddison, Romero, you know, these guys are on the pitch. Why am I not seeing?
Vice captains as well. Vice
that's
captains.
it. You know, I'm not seeing anything from these guys. I need to see more. I really do. I see Vicario shouting and going nuts all the time, but he's a goalkeeper. Goalkeepers are nuts. They always do that. Every time they make a save, you see them, you know, going crazy. But other than that, I don't see any of it, and I just really need to see more. Just because Sonny's not playing doesn't mean we should just go to shit. Like, I just don't get it. So, yeah, fingers crossed Sonny's back. You know, I'm really pleased for Mikey Moore starting today. It's a shame that it wasn't under better circumstances. You know, the kid's 17. He didn't have a great game, but that's not, I don't think that's down to him. Hopefully he can, you know, get a few more good minutes under his belt over the next couple of games. And yeah, I think with Ange as well, I think that the substitutions came at a good time, but I just question, taking off both of our creators at the same time. I thought that was a bit weird. So yeah, just from a manager standpoint and a player standpoint, get it right. And Kulusevski, that's the worst I've seen him play in a long, long time. I don't know what was up with him. He just didn't look at it today. He just didn't look right from the beginning. He was I do agree with you, Lee. I said at the beginning, why did he take him off? But you did put me in check, and I agree with what you're saying. He looked like he was literally a walking red card. He was really bitty and bitey, and even when I think Munoz or someone fouled him and then he kind of lashed out, he was lucky not to get a second yellow there. So I just think everyone needs to be better on Wednesday.
Totally agree. Patty, thank you so much. We'll see you next Sunday. That's not a pun in there, by the way.
Oh man, Jesus! I don't know what I've signed up for.
I know.
You know what? Aston Villa.
We all said that when we started this thing. I think what we all signed up for. We're asking that same question. I think 7-8 years later, what we signed up for. I don't know. We've got a lifetime of this to come. One man I think has seen a lifetime. Not to age him too much. Is Richard Cracknell. Crackers. I'm so sorry, mate. It's double for you back to back. What we see in Cracks in these next 7 days? Do you see anything that's going to make you change your mind, or? It's quite a big week, isn't it? I think we have to say that the game's coming now. I mean, City and Villa. I mean, I not to try and sensationalise, but I do worry about mood changes. About if we go out the cup to City and we don't beat Villa, we don't. Let me put this another way: if we don't perform in the next 2 games, forget the results. If we don't perform in the next 2 games, are you worried about how the mood might change, Crackers?
Well, just quickly, I take issue with Patrick and all goalkeepers are mad. Of course not. But my lad did have a 10 armed police turn up at his game last night out in Lanzarote. So that's for another day.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, look, Wednesday, Sunday, bizarrely, Rick, I fancy us more playing a Man City and playing a Villa than I do playing a Palace, because they will allow you to play your game. Yeah. We've just struggled so much against anybody that disrupts us. They won't disrupt us. They'll fancy going toe to toe with us. Will Man City weaken enough for us to be able to overcome that? I don't know, because you can bet your bollocks to a barn dance. We don't put a full 11 out as well Wednesday. Just it's not happening. It will not happen. He should go strong, but he won't, because there'll be an eye on Villa at the weekend. So from today, all I want to see is a performance. I want to see that they care and that they want to put it in. And by the way, they owe us after today, them players. I mean, we can talk about the manager, we can talk about club culture and everything else, but those 11, well, 10 actually, probably. I'll let Vicario off the hook here and let me knock it down to 9, because Mikey Moore is like 6 years old. So it's like he doesn't come in for any criticism at the moment. So, but the others, every one of them owes us as fans. They owe us at least a performance. What the results are, who knows? This is football. This is like, Premier League, cup games in England. Take your pick. Anything can happen, but they owe us. They absolutely owe us.
Cracks, can't thank enough, mate. Like I say, it's been a long day for him. Bless him. At Selhurst Park, back on here, reliving it twice. So sorry, Cracks, to put you through it. And sorry for what I'm reliving you in the experience. I know.
I hated it today. But I also love it. But it wasn't even the worst, Rick. I went to get a train home, got to Norwood Junction, went into a little boss man shop, got a couple of packets of Doritos for me and Will, bottle of drink, opened mine up. You could have blown bubbles with these Doritos. They were that chewy. It had a hole in the bottom of the bag and they'd gone stale. Now I'm stuck in this area queuing to get on the train. I can't get back to the boss man shop because I'm going to lose my place. So I've had to eat stale Doritos waiting for a train. When I get to Whitechapel, get on the Elizabeth line, there's West Ham fans on there, isn't there? Now heading to that, Comic Con had just finished somewhere. So I'm on a train, a packed Elizabeth line train with happy West Ham fans, people dressed like Donkey Kong, others dressed like Teenage Mutant kicking tortoises or whatever they're called, Dave Skywalker and Eddie Vader, honestly. And I'm stood there thinking, oh, whatever they're called, I don't know, it's all dressed like Mr. Spock. And so this train's just full of like these people dressed as cartoon characters and West Ham fans. And while still trying to chew stale Doritos. How was your day, by the way?
Addy witnessed the Spurs defeating her as well. Crackers, we'll let you go and lay down for a few days before we have to put you through another therapy session. Maka, I must make this clear. We are losing Maka for the next 3 weeks as things stand. So again, I'm almost at that point. He's at the games. He's just not on here. You ask him what's better or worse. I'll let him decide. Maka, give us a rallying cry for this next week. It's a big, big week. And ironically, the next time you are on here is for Man City, but it's in the Premier League. So
yeah. Again, another massive game, isn't it? Got Ipswich Town in between that lot as well. So look, I just think we need to beat Man City. We need to beat Man City to go out there. If we play like we did against them when Son missed that 1-on-1 on purpose last season, at the back end of last season, we play like that and actually get a result, I think the mood changes. It's weird. I agree with Crackers as well. I actually think that this team, arrogance as it may be, I don't know, we'll find that out, but I think this team likes to play the champagne games more than the lesser games, should we say, with the most respect to Palace. I've just been doing some numbers actually on the away form versus the home form in terms of goals scored and conceded. I mean, we scored 11 goals, which is Premier League only, 11 goals at home in our home game so far, and only conceded 3. So defensively, and one of them was obviously to Arsenal, one of the corners, and they're the best. They're Stoke 2.0, aren't they, at set pieces? So they're the best in the league for it. So we've actually only conceded 2 goals out of the other 4 games that we played, and scored a hatful of goals. So and we are at home against Man City. So if Pep is true to his word and he plays the kids, hopefully he does, gives us a better chance. But forget Villa for a minute. Just go and have a good performance and play. Look, I don't think we've played badly at all at home this season. Even against Arsenal, I don't think we played bad. I think Arsenal just played well. So let's do the same against City and win. That's it. That's it. That's all we need to worry about. And then enjoy the win and then take that into Villa. But I do agree with Pat. I think we need 2 wins. And stupidly, I think we'll get them. I think we will beat City on Wednesday. I think we will. I actually genuinely think we'll do it. So it's time. We've got to do something. I can't explain it, but there's something around the corner that does tell me that, just like his football, Ange's football, all or nothing, it's either going to be 2 defeats and the board are going to go, see you later in November, because the board won't sack this guy until mathematically they're starting to struggle to get top 4. And at the moment, I know it sounds horrible that we're in 8th in the league, but it's 2 wins and we're back in the top 4. Do you know what I mean? If we beat Villa, it's a big if, but if we beat Villa at the weekend and other results go away, we're right back in the mixer again. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think the board pushed the eject button on him yet, regardless of the Carabao Cup, because you all know they don't care about the cup, right? We all know that. That's the reality. So, and the argument would be, well, it was City and we were unlucky. I don't want to be plucky Spurs. I don't want to be unlucky Spurs. I don't want to be, we've had a good performance, but Spurs. I just want to go and play well and win the football match. That's it. And these boys have got it in their locker. They have the talent. They have the right setup to be able to do that. They have the ability to do it. So don't keep talking. We're back to work. We're going to work. Go and do it. Go and make it happen. I heard all the talk before the Arsenal game. Did they? I heard all the talk before about a new club. Didn't do it. Go and do it. Go and do it.
Yep, I totally agree. Listen, guys, therapy session over and out. Again, massive thank you. Patrick Tyrant, a brilliant chatty Patty. Go and make sure you follow him. Check him out on the YouTube scene. Crackers, thank you so much. Lots of, actually, I think gigs coming your way with Crackers. So again, we'll be putting all these details, of course, in the audio YouTube description. Go and check him out. Lots of stuff coming Crackers' way. Crackers' way he'll be hosted. Make it clear. And obviously, Lee McQueen, bless his heart. Lee, make sure you, like I say, keep following, keep subscribing, and we'll be back with you guys, obviously for City, and of course, where
keep the faith. It's coming. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, one day. It's all. And one day it's going to turn. We're going to have the glory. If your eyes has not seen the glory, it will see it soon. Maybe.
Oh.
We
I hope you're right.
Hopefully,
Lee. I hope
before
you're
it
right.
before it
He's
kills us.
been eating stale Doritos and he's hallucinating, isn't he?
We
Yeah.
need you. We need you in the coaches'
It's
corner.
the hope-
We
it's
need you.
the
We
hope
need you in the
that keeps
dressing
you,
room.
and it's the hope that kills you. What is the point in
Yeah.
following a football team if you literally think you're just going to get rinsed every single week? It is pointless. And also, let's be real. We ain't going to win every week, but we're also not going to lose every week either. So, keep the faith, team. We rock up. We rock up together against Man City to go and win the football match. Let's go. Let's do it, man. Anthony turned them over the other day, as Cracker said. We can turn them over. We've beaten them other team in the Premier League. We are the bogey team. Let's go.
How can you not love that, man? In the space of an hour and 45, he's told you we're beating City. I don't know he's done that. Even I can't believe it at the moment. Listen, I will believe it come Wednesday. We've got to believe it. Listen, from the wonderful Patty Tyrant, from the superb Richard Cracknell, from the brilliant Lee McQueen, we've been the last one on Spurs. Guys, keep safe, keep well. Therapy session over and out. And as always,